Hello, welcome back. Thank you so much for being here. Now, I do have a habit at the start of each episode to mention the weather. I feel like it's just built into me as a British woman and I can't help it. I'm sorry, but it is grim and it's cold and it's wet outside. But rumour has it, it's going to be sunny at the bank holiday weekend, which I really, really hope is true because I don't know about you, but if there's some sunshine, then my mood instantly increases. So I really, really hope there is a sunny weekend ahead. And the other thing I've been doing at the start of the episodes recently is updating you on my own progress. I mentioned last week about how I'd been focused on recovery and that had been going pretty well. And I'm still focused on recovery at the moment. I'm still focusing on getting enough sleep, on making sure that I feel organized for the day. And it's not that I'm not focused on fat loss. I've just taken the pressure off it a bit. And the ways that I've taken the pressure off is that I'm aware that when my sleep wasn't very well, I was winding down to bed and maybe wasn't sleeping so well, getting up in the morning, jumping straight on the scales to get my weight like at 5:30 in the morning. And all I'm really doing is just removing that element of weighing in the morning. But I am still focused on making sure that I'm getting enough sleep and that I'm really looking at maintaining my running performance at the moment rather than improving it. And the same with my gym performance. And that is going well. You know, there's this tendency when we're feeling a bit tired, because I had been feeling quite tired, there's this tendency to feel like, well, I must be losing fitness because things have really slowed down. But when I did my brunch run on Saturday, I didn't track it again, but I did accidentally clock that I left the house dead on the hour. So when I got to town, I was able to look at my watch and see that actually I'd run it in exactly the same amount of time, maybe even a little bit quicker. But the focus is always, as you might know, about feeling better than I did when I finished than when I went out. And that happened again, as always. But I also just felt good for just easing into the run and just like listening to my own body. I don't like to think that I look at my watch for my pace, but it's easily done. You know, you might be looking and thinking, oh, or you might be tempted to stop it because you're worried about the overall time, but I didn't need to do any of that. I wasn't tracking it. And do you know what? Probably won't track it again this weekend. I will probably give myself another weekend off it, but I might clock the time as always anyway. Now, I just mentioned that we have this bank holiday coming up this weekend here in the UK, and it's also for a lot of people half term coming up. You might be having kids off school this next week. You might be going on holiday. You might have days out, more social events. We're not going to be going away or doing too much. My eldest, he's 16 and he's got his GCSEs at the moment. So it didn't feel quite the right time to like shoot off. So we're staying put, we're staying around here. But a lot of you are going away. And I thought it was about time that I did an episode on how to approach fat loss when you've got a holiday coming up. But it could also be that it's a more social event. And another thing that prompted this episode was a message from a lovely woman on Instagram who was saying, I really want to sign up to Ruth Might Fit, but I don't know whether to do it before I go on holiday in 2 weeks or when I get back. What do you think? Now, I'm not going to sit here and say that everybody would benefit from going and starting a program before they go on holiday, but it can, for a lot of people, be a really good time to start because there's an opportunity to then build some habits and structure and awareness that can then help you also while you're on holiday and when you get back. But it really does depend on the mindset that you go into it with. Because if you go into it thinking, right, that's it, I've got 2 weeks, I need to lose as much weight as possible before my holiday, and you're really restricting and you're holding on to those all or nothing beliefs that you've likely had for a long, long time, then the lead up to your holiday and your holiday itself could start to feel a bit more stressful. But if you were to go into that same program and say to yourself, right, this is an opportunity to build that awareness, to focus on those things that will have you feeling good so that you go into your holiday feeling calmer and then you can hit the ground running again when you get back, then this can be a really, really great time to just start building those habits so that you don't feel that you're going all or nothing while on holiday. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how you might do that in a moment. I also wanted to talk about why we might feel like this about holidays, why we might feel like they can't coexist, because I think it's how we've traditionally approached a holiday. We often have it as the reason to go on a diet, the reason to start a program in the first place. We want to lose a certain amount of weight, or get to a certain size so that we feel better in our clothes. And then the holiday becomes the end point. So we're doing this for that. And then when we're away and beyond are things we don't really consider or think about. That's definitely how I used to approach it. And with that in mind, it does make sense that you would worry about starting any form of program before going on holiday, because you don't want to feel overly restricted while you're away. And you might be thinking you haven't got enough time to lose all of that weight before you go away. I wouldn't want to feel overly restricted on holiday either. There's too many nice things to try. And of course, this doesn't just apply to holidays. That whole feeling of, oh, I can't start because I've got this on, can apply to the fact we've got wedding season kind of coming up. So you might have weddings in the diary, barbecues, social events, days out with the kids. All of these things can feel like a barrier to fat loss. And then we get this temptation to just delay starting until we've got that clear diary, until there's nothing on. And I'm not going to lie and tell you that having a clear diary isn't going to make fat loss feel easier, because absolutely it can make it easier to push towards your goals. But the danger of approaching it in this way is that we fall into that all or nothing cycle way more easily, because we don't know how to adapt when life does happen. And it does. It's always going to happen, because we don't want to suddenly stop doing any of the things I've said previously because we have a fat loss goal. But what I want you to remember here is going on holiday, having a social event, any of these things, they don't need to mean that you're giving up on fat loss. I talk about consistency and how we should focus on being consistent over time. And I think sometimes that can be misinterpreted, because we think that we've got to be in a calorie deficit every single week of the year in order to make progress. We look at quite a short-term thing. But actually, when you go on holiday, making a choice before you go, setting that intention can make this easier. It's either understanding that you are going to want to eat and drink a little bit more, that you might gain a little bit of weight while you're away, and you're okay with that because you've got the structure to come back to. It might be that you're focusing on maintenance while you're away and not focusing on losing any weight. I wouldn't want to go away on holiday worrying about what I'm eating all the time. We definitely want you to be able to enjoy your experiences, have that time with your family. But I think it's also about knowing that that doesn't mean it needs to be all or nothing. At some points, we're going to find it much easier to push for fat loss. And at other points, like when we're on holiday, we are going to want to adapt and adjust and have some flexibility. Now, when I'm on holiday, I don't want to feel over restricted, but I also don't like that feeling of having overindulged and feeling really bloated, a bit gross, and like I'm puffy and not living my best life. I don't want to get that feeling. And I think sometimes we do feel like that because we go into the holiday with a bit of a scarcity mindset. We've been on this diet before we go away. We then get there, we're surrounded by like novelty foods we don't get at home. And we want to try them all, especially if you're thinking, right, I'm going to have to go on a diet when I get home as well. So then you're trying to make the most of this week, and you're eating stuff maybe beyond the point of diminishing return. And I really think that when we slow down, we notice that actually we just want to try a bit. We don't necessarily want to have lots of it. But there is something I have noticed when I am on holiday in a hot country, is that I can crave foods that I don't normally crave at home. I do like a bit of chocolate at home, but I don't tend to be somebody that reaches for crisps. And when I'm on holiday, particularly when I've been away in Barbados, I have really craved crisps and some sugary foods as well. And some of that could be a bit of I'm on holiday, I'm relaxing, but I don't think that's the case with the crisps. I feel like it could have more to do with the fact that I am more active in general. I'm walking around a lot more and I'm sweating a lot more as well. So it could be that I'm craving the salt because of losing some minerals through sweat. And then with the sugary foods, it could be that I'm craving them because I am actually using a bit more energy. But it is worth thinking about those little cravings that you do get when you're away, because it can be lots of other things. It might be that you're not eating meals in those routine times that you normally do when home. It could be that sleep's a bit disturbed. It could be that you're drinking a little bit more alcohol, or that just what you're eating in those meals isn't going to sustain you for so long. So there's normally reasons why we're getting these little cravings. But for me, definitely when I'm on holiday, I don't like the feeling of being overindulged. You know, I think sometimes that's the mistake we can make. We go all in and then all out, And then we spend the holiday actually not feeling great about ourselves anyway, because we feel so bloated. So before you go on holiday, we don't want to be making loads of rules before we go away, but we can set some intentions. Our priorities are likely going to be different than when we're home. You might be going on a relaxing holiday where you want to sit with a cocktail and a book, or you might be on a more active style holiday, a foodie trip, away with your family, whatever it is. But have a think to yourself, like, what will make your holiday feel more enjoyable? What's going to make you feel good physically? What's going to make you feel like you've got the most energy to enjoy it? What's going to help you not hit fuck it? And planning those sorts of intentions before you go away can help you then go onto your holiday in a calm state. It's that if then planning, right? I can't focus on all of my nutrition things, but I can still do this. And that mindful choice can absolutely stop you from spiraling while you're away. We're not trying to control everything, but there are some things that we can do that could act as minimums in a way, so that when you come home, you don't feel like you've completely dropped the ball. And also making those intentions before you go away can absolutely have you feel good. And I thought it would be good to talk about some of the things you might choose to focus on while on holiday that don't feel overly restrictive. They're things that you can easily incorporate without it feeling like much of a chore, just little conditions. And, you know, if it doesn't happen, it is not the end of the world. But they're things that, if anything, would enhance your holiday. Now, you might be tracking your calories before you go away. You might be really focusing on what you're having in your meals. And when you go on holiday, it might be that you go, you know what? I'm still going to focus on having protein in my meals, because you know that having protein will help with your fullness and satiety. It's something that's going to help you be more mindful around those extra snacks and those different things that are around. And it's going to help with your appetite regulation. And a bonus if you're managing to get lovely vegetables and so on and increase that fiber with that. But you could keep protein as a bit of an anchor around your nutrition. Just thinking to yourself, right, just going to have that. Not worried about the calories or anything like this. You're just thinking about feeling fuller for longer so that you can remain more mindful. And then you could, with nutrition, you could focus on eating slowly. Whatever you have, just focus on slowing down and enjoying it. And I say this not thinking about that old advice of chew every mouthful however many times, because I don't know if you've tried to chew things that don't need to be chewed loads and try and like increase the chewing. It doesn't feel nice. I don't think it particularly benefits you. If you're chewing loads of times food that needs to be chewed, that's a different matter. But by slowing down, what I'm talking about is actually taking a moment to enjoy your surroundings, your company, to taste your food, to enjoy every bite. And when we're doing this, we tune into the point where we're full. We are more aware of how satisfied we are from that meal. And that can increase the enjoyment as well. It might be that when you've gone away in the past and you're just eating and drinking, that it all happens quite quickly and you've not even taken that moment to notice it. So make slowing down a focus. And that doesn't just have to be with food, that can be with the drinks that you're having as well. Taking a moment to sip it and enjoy it, to really look, I'm imagining you sitting somewhere with a beautiful sunset and sitting and having that sip of alcohol, whatever it is, and enjoying every moment. And actually, if we're talking about alcohol, this can be something that you do think about before you go away as well. It's not that you shouldn't drink while you're away. Like, you can absolutely drink. I have a bit of a condition, so I don't drink much at home. But when I do go on holiday, I do want to have a glass of wine, or if I'm in Barbados, it would be a rum. But what I don't like is that impacting me the next day. I don't want to get to the point of diminishing return where I'm then tired and I'm feeling a bit rubbish, and it's meaning I'm not enjoying my time there. So for me, I have a bit of a condition around no holiday hangovers, and you might incorporate that as well. But whatever you choose to do with alcohol, I think it's just having an awareness that it can impact our impulsivity. We are going to be more likely to just kind of eat whatever it is. We get a bit more reactive. But the main thing I think to be aware of is how it can make us feel afterwards, not just with the hangover, but we do tend to fall more into that, or sod it, I've blown it now anyway mentality. And even just having an awareness that that is how we can feel from drinking can help us correct it when we hear those thoughts coming in. So it's not saying don't drink, it's just saying be aware of alcohol's impact on you, because there's likely a point of diminishing return where you can have a really, really nice time. You can start to feel the effects of alcohol, but you don't have a hangover and you can still enjoy whatever it is you want to do the next day. I do know that there can be quite a lot of social pressure with drinking on holiday if you're going away with friends as well. And I think that's where setting intentions for you before you go away helps you say, actually, that isn't what I want to do. And then you can choose what really matters to you. And if you are drinking, this next one becomes even more important, because here we're thinking hydration. When you're on holiday, you might well be more dehydrated than normal, especially if you're in a hot country, but also with the alcohol that I've just mentioned and the travel, regardless of where you're going in the world, traveling by car, by plane, by boat, whatever. When you're traveling, there's often less opportunity to have those drinks, and we can be dehydrated before we even get to where we're going. And then if you are more active or you're sweating a little bit more, then you are more likely to be dehydrated. And when we're dehydrated, those cravings I mentioned earlier, those salty foods and so on, can creep in. We can also quite often mistake thirst and hunger cues. I used to do this all the time. I'd be like, I'm really craving grapes. I know grapes aren't like anything to worry about, but I would crave grapes. I would eat loads of grapes. And actually, I think it was just that I was thirsty. It's very easy to feel like we're hungry when we're in fact thirsty. So making hydration, drinking water a priority while you're away, starting the day with a glass of water, having water each meal can be a really good focus. And if you don't like water, then thinking about something that would work instead of water that is going to hydrate you. Now, when I go on holiday, I find it quite easy to stay active. I find it harder to just stay sitting still. You can ask my husband. I always like the idea of going to a beach and just sitting and reading a book, but I can do it for a little bit, but then I need to be up and doing something like a beach treasure hunt or whatever it is, looking for shells. But I think the priority with movement when you're away is, if you want to make it a focus, make it enhance your trip. See it as not, I need to be getting this many steps while I'm on holiday. Think about how you can make it more enjoyable. How can it make your trip more fun? Are you going to be going and walking and sightseeing a little bit more and take that opportunity there? Are you going to be swimming more, maybe snorkeling, doing just general activity like that? Are there any opportunities for you to try something new that you've never tried before, going out in a kayak or a paddleboard or cycling around on a tour, whatever it is? But use it as an opportunity to try something different, I think, or just something that you really love, make it fun. I know that there are different approaches to holidays. Some people really do see holidays as just lying by the pool. But I think a lot of us do tend to be a bit more active while we're away because we haven't got those other things that we have to do, like work. So we tend to want to explore and see more things, and we tend to get up and move around a bit more. And the movement in itself is going to help your mood and energy. Just being out in the sun can help your mood for certain. But I wouldn't want you to see the movement you're doing while away as an opportunity to earn food. It's not like that. This is a way of you keeping up with some movement, but in a way that feels good. And I was also thinking about that question that often gets asked, whether you should continue training while you're away. Maybe you've been doing home workouts or going to the gym, and the hotel that you're staying in has a gym. You don't have to train while you're away. If you're somebody that loves it, that wants to continue doing it, then by all means do. It might actually be beneficial in some ways to take that time off. And there's going to be no significant muscle loss from choosing not to train for 1 to 2 weeks. The main thing with your training is that if you haven't built up those habits and routines before you've gone away, then you can start to believe that, oh, I've undone it all now. So you do want to get back into the training routine as soon as you can when you get home. But that period of time off to recover, to feel good, can be really beneficial. Recovery is definitely part of the process too. So don't feel guilty about missing training while you're away. But if you're somebody that likes to keep that habit and you know that it's a nice way of starting the day before the family wake up, then by all means, do a little bit of training. And actually, inside the Ruth McFit app, I've got a whole travel workout section that people can use, but also the home workouts all work with bands, and bands are quite easy to take away with you. So if you do want to carry on training, consider taking a couple of bands so that you can do just a little routine in the morning before the kids wake up, but it isn't essential. Now, I would say my favorite condition for holidays, not a rule, I'm going to call it a condition, is the no crap cake condition. And the reason that I say this is because you should be able to have the foods that you really want on holiday. There will be incredible cake, incredible pastries, incredible everything. And focusing on trying the things that you wouldn't normally get at home is going to be much nicer than picking at the stuff that you can get everywhere and then not really enjoying those special foods because you've already had quite a lot already. So looking at the things around you and knowing that less often more enjoyable is often the case. And it might be that you're walking around and you come across a bakery and you think, oh, gosh, great, I really fancy a cake today. But then you go to that bakery and you're thinking, none of these cakes appeal too much. At that point, I would leave it and say to myself, I might find something that I'd want more later. Because I think we all know what we really love. And then if you do find something that you really, really want to have, then aim to then have it at a time where you can really sit down and enjoy it and eat that mindfully. And it, like I say, enjoy every single bite. And that really is a no crap cake condition. It's all about enjoying those foods more. It's not restricting them or feeling like you can't have them. It's just knowing what you would prefer. And that, like I said, there is a point of diminishing return. I genuinely think that I enjoy cake more when I'm having it less often, when I'm not having it multiple times a day on holiday. It might be that you are going to have a piece of cake or ice cream or whatever every single day, but go with the incredible ones, not the bang average. Now, I've got a message that I want to share with you that came up on the 3 Wins forum inside the app yesterday. And it's from a member who had been away on a work trip. So not a holiday as such, but she'd been to Madrid for a couple of days. So she wasn't sightseeing, she was working from the hotel, but it was still very much out of routine. And her wins were that she still averaged 10,000 steps a day, even though she was working in the hotel. She didn't track her calories, but she remained mindful of her choices. She got some time to sit in the sun every single lunchtime. And she's been home for 45 minutes and she's prepped her breakfast for the next day already. Now, the reason I've shared that message is because what she's done is brilliant. Because the real danger from a holiday isn't the holiday itself. It's often how we feel afterwards, how long that mindset continues. It might be that you are feeling like you can't quite face going on another diet so that you extend that holiday mode feeling. But there can be other reasons that we continue in that holiday mode. And some of that could be the fact that you feel like you've ruined the progress anyway, so you might as well continue. But what that lovely member did isn't just focus on what she could while she was away. She almost tuned in her mind to, I'm making that breakfast, I'm getting back into routine. That isn't just helping her physically. The breakfast isn't just that. It's a bit of a mental reset as well. So I was so impressed with that. She's not going aggressively all in. It's just making sure that she's just getting back into routine again. And I think there are some things that we can do that would really help us get to there. And that starts before we come home. And I'm not saying that you need to diligently plan ahead while you're on holiday and that you should spend a whole day thinking about this and it could impact on your holiday. The main priority is you enjoying your holiday and feeling calm and rested and recovered. But if you want to feel good when you come home, it can be really helpful to spend a little bit of time when you're chilling and you're relaxing to make a little bit of a plan whilst you're feeling calm. Because when you get home, the likelihood is that you are going to be feeling quite tired. That fridge is going to be empty. You are going to have a huge pile of washing to contend with. And I'm not trying to ruin things for you. This is just a reality. And knowing that can mean that we go, okay, what can I do to make getting home easier? I can pick up some bits that we need for the fridge on the way home from wherever it is we've been. I can order an online shop to arrive shortly after getting home so that I'm getting those healthy foods back into the house as quickly as we can. Because if we don't do that, there is a tendency to then just go to the freezer and see what on earth is there. I mean, if you were really, really organized, you might have put some stuff in the freezer before going away so that you've got a meal there for when you get back. But having an idea of what you want to eat when you come home so you can just fall back into routine is going to be really, really useful. And also setting intentions around things like the movement, this gym. You might go, do you know what? I know I'm going to be tired when I get home. Putting the pressure of the gym there immediately or the workouts there immediately is likely going to be stress I don't need. So I'm just going to wait a few days. Whatever it is, making it a choice is always going to feel better. I know I say that a lot. So this isn't about having this rigid plan and going all in when you're home, but having that calm approach, having those things that you can fall back on. Hydration again, plenty of protein and fiber, moving as much as you can and focusing on recovering with the sleep is going to help, because when you do get home, there is a chance that you're going to feel a little bit more bloated from the different food choices you've had. You might be tired. You might be a bit constipated as well. That can happen when you've been traveling. And you might notice that the scale has massively spiked. And we don't want that in itself to have you feeling like, sod it, I've blown it anyway. So if you do get on the scales when you get home, know that it's likely that it will go up, but it doesn't mean it's all body fat. There are many reasons why scale weight might come up, and that includes water retention. We eat different foods while we're away. If you're eating a few more carbs, then you might find that you are holding a bit more water. You eat different foods while you're away. And if we're eating loads of carb-heavy meals, then we can have a bit more glycogen, and along with that comes water. And then we've got that poor sleep, the travel, and so on. All of this can mean that the scales might sit higher. And I would likely wait 5 days before weighing again. But I also think it's good to be aware of whether it's actually realistic that we have, in fact, gained that much body fat, because it often takes more than we think to gain fat. So we see these temporary fluctuations and we almost catastrophize them, when in fact it is just fluctuations. We have been out of routine. There's been a lot going on. We've been sitting down a bit more. We are just holding on to extra water. Now, a general rule of thumb, and it's not a hard and fast rule because it doesn't take into consideration non-exercise activity thermogenesis, just how much we're moving from day to day, and the fact that you likely will be just subconsciously moving a little bit more while you're on holiday. But roughly, it takes about 3,500 calories over maintenance to gain 1 pound of body fat. And we can gain a pound of body fat over the week, 500 calories a day. But I think we do sometimes catastrophize this in our head, and we see that we've gained 7 pounds on holiday and assume it's all body fat. And it's very unlikely that it is. So just bear that in mind, that eating at maintenance or the top of your range, and if you're inside the app, or just eating mindfully and having extra food each day isn't the end of the world. We're thinking the long game here, seeing this less as being on a diet and more making choices long term that are going to have you feeling your best. And a lot of the time that will lead to fat loss. But sometimes your focus is going to be on other areas, and that is okay too. The goal is never to avoid these things totally. I mean, a life without social events or holidays doesn't seem much fun to me. What we want to do is learn to enjoy them without feeling any guilt associated with them, to make choices over reactions and set some intentions, but ones that aren't going to impact our holiday in a negative way, ones that, if anything, are going to have us feeling better when we're away. It's not about restricting, it's about feeling great. And if you manage to approach your holiday in this way, where fat loss really does fit with life, then you are making long-term sustainable change. We're not aiming for perfect. We've done that before. And if you're ready to move away from that all or nothing thinking and need a bit of support getting there, then we would love to have you join us inside the Ruth McFit app. You can message me. I'm on Instagram at Ruth McFit, or you can go to the website www.ruthmcfit.com for more info there. But mainly, ultimately, whatever you choose to do, go and have an incredible holiday. Enjoy the different sites and that time that you're having with whoever you're with. Maybe listen to some podcasts. Maybe subscribe to your favorite podcast. Maybe leave that podcast a 5-star review. But regardless, have a brilliant time, and I will speak to you again very soon. Goodbye.